Hello, my name is Iron Park. Today, I'd like to talk about Nazarites and my story about it. You might be wondering about what Nazarites are. Nazarites are God's people that were chosen to live a different life from the world. One of the most known Nazarites is Samson, who can be found in the Bible. Samson was chosen by God from the day of his birth, and he had never lived a life as an ordinary person ever since. As Samson was a very extraordinary person who was chosen by God, he also has strict rules to follow, such as never cutting his hair, never drinking wine, and never touching dead bodies. Even though he had fallen into temptation, he finally repented and devoted his life to God at the last minute of his life. Like I said, Samson was a Nazarite. I strongly believe that we need the people like Samson who only obey God and wait for the second coming of Jesus Christ, especially in this generation when Satan is controlling the world. After having experiences in different types of schools, I happen to think that Karakristian is the best place that can change the next generation into Nazarites. For example, the world right now has been transforming into a society where people value looks way more than inner beauty. Satan is trying to empty people's hearts and minds and feeding them with these kinds of wrong values by spreading them through media. I've noticed that many public schools really don't care about it because they don't realize what's wrong. However, Karakristian School is different. Kara teaches us the values which are different from the world's and trains us to fight against Satan's lies and deceit. I stayed at Karakristian School for 5.5 years from the first grade and got educated in this way until I went to Canada with my mom and 2 younger sisters in 2016. There, I felt I was losing my identity as a Nazarite by following worldly things such as watching movies, playing games, and saying bad words. Sometimes I wanted to go back to God, but my empty heart had been already filled with all of worldly things. After 2 years in Canada, I came back to Korea and returned to Kara School. I hoped things would be better, but I kept on filling my empty heart with such sins. In the January of this year, I went to a Nazarite camp that was held by our school. During the camp, I learned a lot of things and realized that God still wants to raise me up as a Nazarite. So, after the camp, I made up my mind to live as a Nazarite. So, I tried to avoid watching media and putting on makeup according to the school's policy, but I failed. And fell again and again because of my weaknesses. However, every time I failed to keep this promise, till now, to raise me up as a Nazarite, God holds me up whenever I stumble, and He leads me to the right path whenever I find myself in the wrong ways. Before ending my story, I hope and pray in Jesus that all students in Karakristian School will be able to live up to God's expectations by His strength, even though we are still weak in the presence of our sins. Lastly, I'd like to tell everybody in this room, God has His plans and His reasons. Sometimes you're supposed to go through things so that we learn lessons like I did. Thank you.